It's the end of the All-Star break. Sunday, the final day. What do we do to win our matchups? It might be key. It might be what pushes us into the playoffs, and it might be what gets us to listen to Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and like a white girl in Utah, I now have a Stanley tumbler. Let's go. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That is $150 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. Well, the audio platforms, not at the moment. They're coming back on Monday as our whole network transitions over to a new host. You don't have to do anything with your audio subscriptions. Everything will just populate the same. Just a couple of days on getting the new ones out. So if you are here new, all the people who always watch on YouTube, I know you've already given thumbs up and just subscribed. Thank you. Well done. The new guys who are watching on the video, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe, ring the bell. We're good. We're good to go. What are we talking about? Well, we're talking about Sunday. There are a big amount of games. And an early one as well, a couple of early ones actually. We had 11 games on Sunday. First game is 1 p.m. Eastern. We've got a 3:30 p.m. Eastern game. We've got a 5 p.m. Eastern game. We've got a 6 p.m. Eastern game. And it all wraps up at, in a neat little package. At, what time is that? 9:30? 8:30 Eastern is the final tip-off. No? I don't know. I can't remember the times. Anyway, it's 1:30 p.m. my time. What time is that? I'm trying to figure that out. That's 9:30 p.m. Eastern is when the final game tips off. Anyway, there are 11 games on. Let's talk about them. Let's talk about what we need to know in terms of fantasy and getting prepared for that final day. This might be it for you. This might be your second last week before the playoffs. Might be 2 weeks to go, but it might be key. You might need to win to make yourself stay in the playoffs. So you need to start throwing caution to the wind and getting the right guys in, because no point sometimes preserving a guy that you think might come good. Say you're holding a Onyeka Okongwu. He's out at least 2 weeks. I don't think it's worth holding. So you might need to move on and get somebody else in and stack some stuff up on Sunday. So we're going to go through all the different streaming options. We will just cover all of, not a standard look-ahead show like we do on Sunday. We don't go game by game. We just go category by category. So we'll start by looking at the injury updates that we need to pay attention to for the games on Sunday. Chris Middleton's going to be out. Aaron Nesmith is out. Dante Exum is out. Chris Paul is out. Tari Eason is out. I'm worried about Eason. I don't know that he comes back. Malcolm Brogdon remains out. And then we don't have an update because, of course, we don't. But LaMelo Ball I am listing him. That asterisk next to the players' names on these injury reports. I'm not sure if you're caught on. I have mentioned it a couple of times. But that is me. That is not an official status. That is me projecting out a status. Or a lot of the times it's the guys that missed the previous game and we haven't had an update for the next game. But I am projecting that LaMelo is doubtful. Like, I just don't think he's going to play. I could rule him out, but I don't think he's going to play. The next two there are Najee Marshall and Jose Alvarado, who I think might be subjected to a suspension from the NBA for that fracas brouhaha Donnybrook in yesterday's game against the Heat. I don't know. No decision has come down on that yet, but they might be listed I think there's a chance they're suspended, so I'm listing them doubtful. The Pelicans actually, just as I'm recording this, have updated their injury report. Zion has popped up as questionable again with a foot issue. Don't know why I played the back-to-back, but yeah, he's popped up again. And Brandon Ingram is still questionable, but CJ McCollum with the ankle sprain last game has been listed out. So if McCollum is out, if Alvarado isn't suspended, we really do look to him as a strong stream option. But if Alvarado is out and McCollum is out, they have literally no point guards. So is it going to be, because Dyson Daniels is out, obviously, would they put Jordan Hawkins in there and let Brandon Ingram be the point guard, or will Zion be the point guard? But both of those guys are questionable as well. So it's going to be a very interesting situation as to who gets to run things, but it will almost definitely mean more minutes for Jordy Hawkins in that scenario with CJ out and maybe Jose out and Najee out as well. Cam Reddish, I'm going to put as questionable. Looks like his return is coming. I'm not even sure how much he plays, honestly, when he returns. Yusuf Nurkic and Bradley Beal. Remember, the Suns play on Sunday, but then they don't play again next week until Thursday. So if you are considering, well, if Nurkic is out, I'm going to stream Eubanks, or I'm going to add Bol because he had a big double-double last game, you will have to then sit 3 days without that team playing. And does that make sense for you? Because then they play Thursday, Saturday, Sunday in week 18. But is it worth having a zero who might actually just be a zero every game anyway, or a relative zero for standard leagues? Is it worth holding that guy? The answer is probably no, but we evaluate that on a game-by-game, team-by-team, league-by-league basis. Beal, not sure. At least they're taking a little bit more precautions with his hamstring injury, which I enjoy. Jalen Smith is questionable with that back injury that he was officially available for last game, and then they didn't play him, and I cannot believe they didn't get fined for that. How can they possibly say he was available, not play him, post-game say, nah, he wasn't actually available, and then pop up and list him questionable for the next one? Ridiculous. Denny Avdia is officially questionable for the Wizards. He missed the last game, and they dusted off Landry Shamet and started him. No idea why. Absolutely no idea why, but they did. Jamal Murray, the headmaster, missed the last game. I think that was probably due to the back-to-back with the tibial inflammation, so I think he'll be okay. Markelle Fultz is out on Saturday. I don't know whether he plays on Sunday. Obviously, he missed the first game before the break. He missed the last game the last game before the break, the first game after the break. He's missing the Saturday game on the first of the back-to-back. My unfounded theory was that there was some sort of procedure that he had done, whether it was PRP or whatever it was, and they used that time around the break to give him maximal recovery time without missing as many games. So I think that it probably leans more towards the doubtful side of questionable, but I'm not sure. Ingram is officially questionable. I had McCollum there as questionable, but he is now out, CJ, in New Orleans. Scoot Henderson missed the last game, which again was weird coming out of the All-Star break after Scoot did play in the Rising Stars game. He had a groin injury before the break, played, and now is out. I hope he's okay. Norman Powell is questionable. He missed the last game there. Well, I'm listing him questionable. I think he might be all right. And then a bunch of probable tags. Yanni is probable. He's probable he's doing the old LeBron, Anthony Davis injury report dance at the moment. KJ Martin's with an ankle problem. We don't really care too much there. Luka Doncic is probable with his nose fracture. Maxi Kleber is probable. Derek Lively is probable. And Don Mitchell, who's missed the last two with illness, he is probable to go Sunday. So obviously that's looking like he'll be there. Kyle Lowry sat out on Friday. Wasn't double-cheeked up on the Thursday, but he did sit out on the Friday, but he will be back on Sunday. And then we get the Melton, Hield, Oubre, Lowry, Batum. How do those minutes go? And I honestly, I think that none of those players, you could say maybe Hield, but I think that none of those guys will be locked 12-team league players. We will find out, but it is a lot of guys to get those minutes, and I think they'll end up all sort of splitting around and being, again, Hield probably the best, but not sure he's going to be a guaranteed lock top 100 guy as we move forward from there. Today's episode is brought to you by Grammarly. You're a professional, or you do a job, I'm guessing. Some of you might not, but you might be in school. But Grammarly can help in so many different ways. No matter what kind of work it is you do, how you communicate is key. I use Grammarly every single day. Write descriptions on YouTube. I write comments on the Basketball Monster player page. I've written articles. I do audio descriptions. I do so much stuff using Grammarly, and it helps correct my spelling. It helps correct my grammar. It gives me ideas for things that I want to do as well. 96% of Grammarly users report that Grammarly helps them craft more impactful writing. I agree with that. Grammarly works across 500,000 apps and websites. By understanding your writing and context, Grammarly provides relevant, personalized suggestions. You set also where you're at as well, so I don't have to use English UK, English US. I'm in Australia, so it looks up that sort of thing and can use more colloquial or more regional specific information. Their tone suggestions also helps you navigate even the most difficult work conversations. So make a bigger impact at work with Grammarly. Sign up and download for free at grammarly.com/podcast. That is GRAMMARLY.com/podcast. Easier said, done. Okay, so we've looked up the injuries here. I've done the week 18 preview show already, so you can already see how you can manipulate the schedule, looking at Indiana guys the Sunday, Monday to begin the week, and get those guys in to maximize your games played next week. But let's take a look now. And I think there's an interesting way that we look at things to soliloquize sidebar a little in terms of roster percentages. It is hard to always figure out what is the correct percentage to use when talking about waiver wire players, because there'll be some of you go, Josh, every single name, you mentioned 50 names, every one of them's rostered in my league because I'm the most hyper-competitive man in the world. Or there'll be some of you who come out and say, hey, Josh, actually, like, what's a good name that I can think of? Paul Reed and Vince Williams are available in my league. Who do I add? Like, so catering between the two sort of extremes there becomes really hard. So I try to find ways to work the metrics. Early in the season, we use higher roster percentage numbers because a lot more leagues are active. And then as the season goes on, teams drop off, some leagues become less active. So the likely available players, I drop that roster percentage down to make it more, I think, viable to give you more answers. But I think also when we hit this part of the season, we run into the situation where, again, some more teams drop out, some more teams become inactive. So that also means that there are less teams adding guys who might have been dropped in certain situations. So I guess the long and the short of it is I think that as the season goes on, you start off with waiver wire high cutoffs. You drop them down as the season goes on, but then as we head towards playoffs, that number pushes up a little bit higher again, just because of the way that inactivity works across leagues. You have fewer teams starting to try, so those some of those players might still be available, even though 3 weeks ago they wouldn't have been because teams were still scrounging to get in. I hope all that makes sense. All that is to say is that in previous weeks I was using cutoffs of 39% rostered for most of this show, but we're going to move back to 50% now, just to give you, with a range. Like a lot of these guys are 46, some of them are 30, some of them are 20. Give you a range across different formats. I hope that makes sense. Obviously, for individually tailored projections to the guys who are literally available in your league, that's what we do on Basketball Monster. You import your league in and you see who's actually available in your league, and then you see how they project out and how that affects your team. So that's how we do that. I can't cater to everyone's team, and I've just talked for too long. So let's talk about Yahoo Points. Who do we stream in for a Yahoo Points league situation? And I am going with Amen Thompson in Houston. Amen Thompson's very good. We knew. I'll tell you what I also find funny. I know that sometimes I can be too early on guys. Sometimes I can be too late to react to things. But I heard multiple times at the start of this NBA season, man, this draft class really pretty bad, yeah? Whew, these guys aren't very good. Wow, real struggle. My thing always with this draft class for 2 years was this is a very unbelievably strong draft class. Like, this is the draft class you want guys in, not 2022, not 2024. 2023 is the one where there are an amazing group of players. And the amount of guys that were poo-pooing that earlier in the season and saying, well, yeah, you definitely have to take Jaime Jaquez at number 3. Yeah, he goes at 3, Cason Wallace goes at 4, and we're done, right? Which obviously was crazy 20 games in. I say all that to say that we're starting to see these guys really blow up. And Amen Thompson's one of them. We worried about what Udoka would do in terms of giving minutes, but at this point he's like, Jalen, you're dead to me, my guy. Like, I'll see you at Jollibee. What are those drinks at Jollibee with all the ice in it and the colours? I know there's a good name and I can't think of the funny name. It's not a funny name, but it's a name that I could call him. Anyway, we're just going to call him Jollibee Jalen. You know the drinks I mean, with the purple colours in it and the ice. Why? You know what? I have to know that because I know someone's going to be screaming it in the chat and in the comments, but I need to find out. It's okay. I figured it out. Hello. Is that how you say it? I think that's how you say it. Hello. So Jalen Green could go have his hello on the bench, and Amen Thompson's getting his minutes because Jalen Green is struggling. Now, this won't necessarily happen every single game, but Amen's good. Simple as that. And that's a long-winded way of me saying, yeah, he's a really good ad at the moment. He just should be rostered. Trey Mann's the next guy that I've got there, a Yahoo Point streamer. Keyonte George, you'll notice 2 of those guys are rookies. Trey Mann, who knows if LaMelo is returning, I have no idea. I've got Jeremy Sohan, who's put in 2 monster games post-break. I don't know whether it could continue. But he's a young player. He got refreshed over the break, it seems. And he's been good. So let's try it. Ben Mathurin, who is obviously better in points than categories. He's been bad in points leagues as well. But the opportunity is still there. The minutes are still there. He'll probably start again with no Neesmith. So we try that. And then Andy Nembhard is going to continue to start as well. And they got obviously the game on Sunday, the Pacers, but they've got a really strong schedule next week as well. So that gives you that advantage of trying one of those players or using them and sticking with them for at least the beginning of the week. On ESPN points, a lot of the similar names. We do not use any ESPN points or ESPN league roster percentages because they're clearly nonsense, because there's got to be 70% of those leagues that are inactive when you see guys who are being top 40 players for 3 months sitting at 20% rostered. Like, it's ridiculous. So yeah, we ignore that. We use Yahoo roster percentages on the ESPN point scoring system. So I've got Keyonte George, Trey Mann, Amen Thompson, Andy Nembhard. I'm going to throw Ayo Dosunmu in there. Just so many minutes, and his efficiency does really get the boost in ESPN points leagues. You can 100% use him in Yahoo points leagues as well. But if you're always going to look at, hey, I'm in a Yahoo points league, does this guy make sense the rest of the season? There are very easy tools that you can look at. What has he done the last 3 games, 6 games, 2 weeks, 1 week versus these other guys? How is things trending? How does it make sense? And also remember, if it's the worst player and they average 25 points and the guy on the waiver wire averages 23, then you don't want to keep the 25 guy. You just stream through that spot. There are very simple math equations you can work out to figure out how you get value out of that. But it's about how many times can I use this roster spot during the week? And for this week upcoming, with 6 quality game days, you can use that roster spot 6 times, and versus that player playing 3 games, well, that means they have to average a lot more than the waiver wire guys to justify them being holds. The last name on this list is Jeremy Sohan. Why is this so I feel like this show is so deranged at the moment, so I do apologize for the derangement. Category League Legends, let's go. If you're looking for the points category, we are going to the speaker, Keyonte George. Got Humpty Dumpty, Benedict Mathurin. If there's one thing he does, it's score. Cam Whitmore, where he does that a lot as well. I wish that Whitmore could get 28 a night. Doesn't seem like it's possible, but even in 23, he can get 15 or 16. Ayo Dosunmu, he's playing a lot of minutes. Dylan Brooksy Brooks is one that I have there, but I don't know how confident I feel in it. That is a very risky proposition, but maybe. And then I've got DeAndre Hunter, who is also playing well. Now, I would need to see, I've said this with RJ Barrett in the past. It's I need to see you be improved for a full year before I buy it. And that's part of, I guess, why I've had the skepticism about Barrett is the man has played 4 years in the NBA and been bad all of them. So when he put up your 50% shooting from 3 for the first 6 games of the season, I said, nope, I need to see it for a full year. He came to Toronto. He did it for 10 games. I said, no, I probably need to see it for a little bit longer. Even though he has improved some certain things, I still need to see this longer term. And that's the same with DeAndre Hunter. We are 4 or 5 years into his career now. Is it 5? No, it's his 5th year. And we've seen 2 10-game bursts of solid play. For now, try it out. But I'm not willing to say that it has completely changed and now he's in a super efficient must-roster category league type player. I don't think we're in that position just yet. Today's episode, though, puts us in the position to tell you that it is brought to you by Stitch Fix. You know, that instant confidence boost you get when you have an outfit that makes you look really good? Well, that's what you get from Stitch Fix. You look in the mirror and you go, man, look at this guy. What an absolute slayer. He looks fantastic. Or the women out there, you're out there go, whew, I am absolutely smoking. And Stitch Fix can help deliver that feeling to you because they help you upgrade your wardrobe with a professional stylist, finding you new, on-trend favorites that will work for you. My stylist gets the must-fit pieces or the just right pieces that fit exactly what I want, size-wise, style-wise, fit-wise. They know what I want because I've told them what I want. And then they use that, their talents, their skills, and their ability to find the right things that fit me. So you get a box, not a subscription, but you just order that box when you want. They put 5 things in there. You look at them, you go, yes, no, yes, no. You keep what you want, and returns, exchanges, shipping, it's all free. So you just send back what you don't want. If it doesn't quite make what if you look at it and go, I'm not sure I've got quite the level of confidence I need to wear this, that'll build up. You send it back, get something else out there. It's all about building that confidence and rapport with your stylist and getting the right things in. So style makes you feel as good as you look. If you want that, yeah, you do. You get started today at stitchfix.com/lockedon. That is stitchfix.com/lockedon. stitchfix.com/lockedon. All right, let's look at threes for category leagues. Who are we streaming in to hit threes? And there are always going to be a lot of 3-point streamers on the waiver wire. I am probably going to lean more heavily into this when we do drafts and preparation stuff next season about looking at the valuation of certain categories and the fact that you can just get so many threes off the waiver wire at any point means that those guys whose traditional straight rankings will tell you how good they are, it all needs to be manipulated. I'm also going to work on some stuff about the impact on percentages. I did some stuff last preseason on it, thinking that maybe the I did a lot of data stuff saying, when Giannis was like the 100th ranked player, but I said, like, you can actually still win free throws with Giannis pretty comfortably, even though it tells you that he's an unrosterable player. So maybe that the way that traditional rankings value percentages is probably not as accurate as the impact they actually have. So I'm going to do some work on doing that and tweaking formulas about it. Anyway, threes, you find them everywhere. Keyonte George, you'll see his name mentioned many times already. I think you got to roster him. Leaky Beasley, the man does nothing else. So let's go. Fanapants Kevin Huerter. Yes, he might play 14 minutes, but he also could play 30. And he could hit 4 threes very easily. Jordan Hawkins, this is dependent more so on Alvarado being out, but we already know CJ's out, so there's going to be some minutes for Jordy. Now, he was putrid last game, but there is an opportunity for more there. Corey Kispert, if you're rostering Kispert, this is what it's for. And why not? Especially with Avdia also still questionable. And then Cam Whitmore, points and threes guy, gets some rebounds occasionally, but he gets you some numbers there. Rebounds, unbelievable. The number one guy in my projections for rebounds tomorrow is a point guard, Amen Thompson. He's unbelievable. This we talk about Wemby breaking fantasy, and he will. Honestly, sidebar again. Who wants a sidebar? Let's bar it up. When Victor Wembanyama means that you basically have to do auction drafts from now on. And I'll be doing a lot more auction content, I think, next season in industry pickup as we expand our offerings next season, because we were a rush thing for industry pickup. We did a snake this season. I think most of those are going to go to auction as well, because getting the number one pick, I tell you, he will go number one in many drafts, Victor Wembanyama, is going to be an unfair advantage. It's going to be Wayne Gretzky for the Oilers in the 80s unfair. That's what it's going to be. So we're going to need to do more auctions. That's going to have to become the default, and I'm going to do a lot more focus on them. They have to be done, I think. What was I talking about? I don't know. Amen Thompson. Yeah. I think this guy's going to be a perennial top 25 fantasy player as well. But he's rebounding unbelievable. He's hitting 60% of his twos. I know he's a bad three-point shooter, but he's one of the best 5 athletes in the NBA. Big Dick Nick. You don't get upside with him, but what you do get is probably double-digit rebounds. We've got the big avocado, Andre Drummond. Now, the Bulls are taking on the Pelicans, so that's not a situation where they're probably going to start him, but he can get 8 rebounds in 18 minutes very easy. I wouldn't want Vucevic or Drummond, however they want to do it, having to push out onto the perimeter to guard Zion. Doesn't feel like a fun time to me, although having Caruso or DeMar DeRozan also doesn't feel like a fun time out there because the Bulls are poorly managed. Drummond, good rebound option. Marvin Bagley, they're playing him low minutes, but he's getting a lot of rebounds and points, and I wonder if some of those low minutes were matchup based. One of them was Chet Holmgren and a blowout against the Thunder. One of them was against the Nuggets and Jokic. So let's see. I still think he's a rosterable guy. I got Taylor Hendricks there. At some point in the next 3 weeks, he'll become a must-roster guy, is my guess. Whether you can afford to do that now, you probably can't, but I think he will become that player. And then Jeremy Sohan's been getting some pretty good rebound numbers as well. Let's talk assists. Trey Mann, he's getting pretty solid minutes. He still hasn't had the big usage explosions yet. I think they will come, but we're getting some good stuff. Andy Nembhard, Keyonte George, Timothy John McConnell. This man gets you 7 assists in 18 minutes. If for some reason he played 25, he would get big numbers. I got Vasily Micic, who got, 8 assists last game in 21 minutes for the Hornets. These are these players, McConnell and Micic. You're getting into... Now, I say Micic. I think it's Micic. But I need to look at that. Can you... anyone with more of an accurate pronunciation there, correct me on that, because I think it's Micic. Because I know there are different diacriticals on each C. Anyway, Micic and McConnell are the guys that you can grab for 20 minutes to get 6 assists. And sometimes when we talk Sunday streaming, there are no viable assist guys. Today, a lot. And Amen Thompson's there as well. And there are plenty of other ones. We can get 4 or 5 assists from about 9 or 10 guys, I think, which is not a common thing on a Sunday. 4 steals. The big fella, Amen Thompson's there again. He's just good, man. Cody Martin's getting a lot of steals for the Hornets, and while LaMelo is out, him and Mann are going to be starting. Chris Dunn, he only plays his 20 minutes, but 2 to 3 steal upside very easily. It's a very different situation from getting 1 steal, 0 steals, 1 steal, 1 steal, whereas Dunn can go 3, 3, 3, 0, 0, 3, 3. We want the spike, and that's what Dunny provides. Jalen Suggs, they're playing the back-to-back. He's fine for Saturday. He could get hurt at any point, we know this, but he's a high steals upside guy. Contavious Caldwell-Pope, not a guy that we want to roster as a general rule, but for steals, this is what he brings. And then Ayo Dosunmu probably doesn't have as much spike potential as Suggs or Dunn or Martin or Thompson, but he can be solid enough, and he's going to get enough minutes to trip into those. In terms of blocks, I'll throw Richards out there just because his role is relatively secure with 28 to 29 minutes for 2 blocks. Peyton Watson's probably got higher spike potential in blocks to get 4 or 5. Got Taylor Hendricks there, who's available everywhere. Will he play? Like, it was frustrating that he had 26 minutes in 3 quarters last game and then didn't touch the court in the 4th. I'd like to see a little bit more. I don't think he's got quite spike potential yet, but interesting. Bowler's there, and if Nurkic is out, Bowl's value rises significantly. That's a 2 to 3 block guy. Bilal Coulibaly is probably more on the 1-1-1-0-2-1-0-1 sort of guy versus like you got 4 to 5 block up. Why can't I speak? Block upside. And then, of course, it has to be Amen Thompson, who is just like everywhere. He touches every category, apart from free throws, really. Field goal percentage, we've got a Nick Richards, the big avocados there, Andre Drummond at number 2. I've got Jalen Smith there. I don't know that he's going to play. Just have a quick peep, by the way, at Jalen Smith's 3-point percentage. Jalen Smith last season was one of those guys, I was like, hey, let's look at him around pick 90 or so. They said he's the starting power forward. I think he's bad, but he's going to start there, and that means he's got a good fantasy profile. Let's use him. He sucked. He shot like 20% from 3 and got benched about 10 games in, and it was a disaster pick. This year, I think he's running at 47% from 3. He just cannot miss. So, yeah, like if he had done that last season, he actually would have been a top 60 player because they wouldn't have benched him. He would have put up double-doubles with blocks and threes and been awesome. But he's doing it this year. Jackson Hayes with Christian Wood out. He's got the ability to be a 60-70% guy on a couple of shots. Mo Wagner, higher volume. Can be a little bit fluctuating in terms of overall efficiency, but generally is pretty good. And then TJ McConnell, when you're looking for point guards, this man doesn't really take shots that he can't hit. So he could be a 55-60% guy, even though he is a guard. Free throws. I don't think DeAndre Hunter's missed in 2 weeks. He's at like 89% from the season, which is way up on what he's done. Is he that guy? He might be, but we like that. KCP's there. Keyonte George is a good free throw guy. Dylan Brooks has turned into a really good free throw shooter as well. Benedict Mathurin, good free throw guy. And Amir Coffees, I think he's sitting at around 90% as well, and they're giving him 25 minutes or so a night there for the Clippers. The last thing we look at is just 5 other additional categories for 3-point percentage. Interestingly, the guy that projects out the best here is Josh Green. He doesn't take a huge amount of them, but he's been relatively consistent with the 3-point shooting, and his role of 26 minutes is pretty stable. For assist to turnovers, I am going with Andy Nembhard. For offensive rebounds, it's Marvin Bagley. I think he had 5 or 6 of them in yesterday's game. Free throws made, Ben Mathurin. And field goals made, it could have been Mathurin there as well, but I'm going to go with Keyonte George as the free throws made maven. Today, we're done. That is the end of the show. Looking ahead to Sunday's action. Remember, early start, 1 p.m. on Sunday. I will go and change the second waiver claim time on the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl Leagues. This is the final regular season week for the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Bowl. Playoffs start next week, so be ready for that. That will be, to get those matchups set, it will take me quite a bit of time, though, the week after to get them all set out. But it is, playoffs are within your division. Top 8 teams make it into the playoffs. Got it? Good. All right, don't forget that you need to sound like bloody, I'm playing on like, not playing, I sound like I'm Dave Coulier on Full House. Does it cut it out? Anyway, I've lost my mind. I don't know why I hit that button. I shouldn't have hit that one, but I'm here to tell you to subscribe. Hit the thumbs up, double bang, listen. We can't listen, but go and subscribe anyway. You'll find it when it comes through. And leave your comments down below. Sorry for all the nonsense. We are done here. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. See ya.